Hello, everyone. How's it going? Here we are. Welcome to the Scarred Thumb podcast. Good morning, Deborah. It's good to see the game and the sound. Everything appears to be working. Funny how that works. Everything is good. Excellent. Today, we got a pretty good podcast, I think. We got MasterCard has made a response, which could be good or bad, considering how you look at it. We have a controversy regarding some Pokemon TCG game copying some artwork. And we have Sony suing a company for copying Horizon Zero Dawn, which, I mean, if you look at it, I'll let you be the judge, but there's definitely some similarities. And is it the end of the crossover? Probably not, but we're going to look into that too. So let's move in and let's move on and get into this. I mean, this is like the third week I've been covering it, but at the same time, this stuff with MasterCard and banks, I think it's just so important, not just for video games, but just in general. Because when you have payment processors and banks censoring speech, it's one of those things, like everyone's like, oh, the First Amendment. The First Amendment's so important. It's the most critical amendment. The First Amendment doesn't mean shit if a bank can say, like, oh, you said that? We're not allowing you to do business with us anymore. Or we're not allowing you to take credit cards anymore. Like, what good's freedom of speech if you exercise it and then you can no longer accept any form of payment for your business? You're just totally out of business. You lose your job, you lose your house, you lose everything. They just bankrupt you, and it's essentially just killing you through a different method. So what good is freedom of speech at that point if banks can do this? Now, that's how critical this is. Like, the First Amendment doesn't matter, the Constitution doesn't matter if you allow these businesses that just have a monopoly on handling money to censor your speech. So we're covering this for the third time, and this is why. Because it is very important, and it's slowly evolving. The story's evolving here. So as you can see on screen, MasterCard actually issued a statement, which I guess goes to show just how much, social pressure is being generated here, that they felt they had a need to respond. So let's see what they say. Clarifying recent headlines on gaming content. MasterCard has not evaluated any game or required restrictions of any activity on game creator sites and platforms, contrary to media reports and allegations. So they're denying that they did any of this. Our payment network follows standard based on rule of law. It's always funny when they say this, because, like, what rule of law? Like, what law exactly? They're literally a global company. They handle like 90% of all like credit card transactions. So what's going on here? Put simply, we allow any lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. I don't know what illegal. I don't think any of the content on Steam or itch.io were illegal, because they're literally on that. I don't think they would allow just illegal content on it. But so MasterCard saying they had nothing to do with it. Do we believe them? I don't know if I'm going to take the side of the credit card company here. So there's a community note. Both Steam and Itch have stated their removal of the adult content came from pressure of payment processors, including MasterCard. Furthermore, MasterCard and other payment processors have documented history of viewing services to Japanese retailers over legal adult content. Oh, okay. So let's. There is some other people have chimed in with some clarification on this statement by MasterCard. Hey, good morning, JBB. Good morning, Silver Bishop. I already said good morning to you, Deborah, I think. But good morning anyway. A second time. They want to ruin Steam because Steam still kicks ass. This is Nathan Grayson from Aftermath. I think he's a former Kotaku guy, but he's a huge leftist loser. But this is an interesting statement that he put up. When these companies try to claim whether it's about legal or not, they're lying. None of the games that were removed from Steam or itch broke the law. Financial companies are making subjective decisions based on what might inconvenience them. So here's the quote here. But the idea that this is about what is legal is ridiculous, he added. Not about the law allows. It's not about what the law allows you to process. These are often very subjective rules around what falls outside the brand guidelines for Visa and MasterCard. I think this is very important, the brand guidelines. So, like, they don't want people to go to them, Visa, MasterCard. Hey, Visa, MasterCard, why are you allowing, I raped my little sister in a train simulator on your platform? Why are you allowing Steam to process a game like this? Not that, that game exists, but, this feels like that would be maybe a Japanese title, a Japanese visual novel title or something like that. They have some weird games, all right, that don't necessarily mesh with some of the values of American culture, but hey, it is what it is. So Visa and MasterCard don't want to say like, whoa, we don't want this game that's about glorifying, beating women or glorifying, attacking women or something like that. Whatever like male fantasy these games are appealing to. If it's like a male fantasy, sexual fantasy, then of course, just in general, the Western world thinks it's evil. So they want to avoid looking like they're supporting anything like this. But let's continue. And even if something doesn't fall outside the brand guidelines, it may just be something that's uncomfortable. Questions of, is this inside the bounds? Is this outside the bounds? Should we be processing that? Should we not be processing that? Are often incredibly subjective. So it's just a matter of, could it be bad? Let's just fall on the side of not allowing it. And if you played the new Uncle Touchy, Uncle Touchy 2 remastered edition. It's but yeah, exactly. It's just those games that are kind of like weird. Like I said, any like male sexual fantasy is automatically going to kind of be on the outside bounds of it, of what's allowable, especially when it comes to something like that could be pornographic too. You throw that in there. Stable speculated that specific game removals on Steam and new rules on both Steam and itch are meant to bring video games in line with what card companies and payment processors would be comfortable with in real-life porn. But the approach, he noted, doesn't really stand up to prolonged scrutiny. The difference is that you can't shoot anybody in real life, but there are plenty of games in which you could do that, which is true. It's a fantasy, it doesn't exist. The stuff companies are talking about is entirely legal. It's legal to have a book. It's legal to have it in a game. They're making decisions based on their brand, based on public pressure from anti-porn groups that can be reversed. They're saying that they could also, step back, and we'll see. Maybe the pressure will allow it. Within the European banking zone, you don't need credit cards or PayPal transactions. A simple bank transfer would work. Okay. Well, that's good. But, the other thing is, like, wouldn't it be far better to just allow the companies to decide what this is? I mean, when you especially look at, like, what Steam is, what itch.io is, you'd think 3 minutes to kill your boss. Yes. That would be a fun game. When you have why wouldn't you let companies like Steam or itch.io decide what they allow? I feel like they would have a far better knowledge of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in video games, or what's legal and what's not legal in video games. But the second MasterCard steps in, they're not going to do any sort of due diligence on this. They're just going to say like, hey, this company, this pressure group doesn't like this game. Just get rid of it because it's not worth the trouble for us to defend it. They don't care about artistic expression or video games at all. They just want money. And anything that might hurt the money is going to be bad for them. So this is another post from a guy that I guess has some experience with making, adult visual novels. So here's his TLDR to my response. Partially true, partially misdirection. This is a response to the MasterCard statement. It's an interesting choice of words and a way MasterCard's correct. Well, let me tell you about how this really worked out, folks. Stick with me, and you will see they are misdirecting and not exactly truthful here. MasterCard is correct. They didn't talk to itch.io or Steam. They talked to an internet merchant account, or IMA, that is usually owned by a bank, credit union, or financial institution who acts as the credit card processor, and it is the processor's job to provide an internet gateway for a website's online store to MasterCard, Visa, American Express, or Discover, and back. What likely happened is Collective Shout contacted Visa, MasterCard, as it's been doing. They were not getting the movement they wanted directly from the stores, so they went directly to Visa, MasterCard, complained, and someone from those companies either provided information of who Steam and itch.io's internet merchant accounts were, or directly contacted the internet merchant account to tell them to enforce the product and service rule in regard to branding, protecting Visa, MasterCard's brand, and the respective internet merchant accounts, i.e. bank. For each website, then contacted Steam and itch.io and told them that they need to clean up their book of products or be turned off and be blacklisted, unable to get another processor to continue the operation and conduct online sales. So essentially they're lying. He's saying not entirely truthful, but let's be real. If it's like, oh, we didn't do it, but this people that work directly with us did, that's shutting them down. It's the same thing. I know this because, and this is where he kind of goes into his own experience. I know this because I'm one of the creators, and I used to be one of the owners of Renderosity and Renderotica, and had to do this BS dance on the whims of banks, processors, and credit card companies on a regular basis, even as far back as 1999 and 2000. And it's banks. It's not just credit card companies. It's also banks. And the fact that they could do this, because look, pornography, it's easy to people say, I don't care about pornography. And I kind of don't either. It's not a huge deal for me. And it's hard to defend because it's embarrassing. But let's be clear, they could do this to anybody, like any sort of political speech, especially COVID. They could have done that too. If that's not in our brand, being a COVID denier, saying China is spreading the virus, they could easily do that. Anything that's anti-gay, anything that's against abortion, they could do that for. These pro-life people, they're against women's rights. We don't support that, so now we need to shut down your bank. We had Canada do this when they had a protest. I think that might have been their government, but had banks shut down bank accounts, freeze bank accounts, essentially make sure you can't pay for anything, especially considered just how tied in with electronic money is now, done so much electronically that paper money is just slowly going away. This is becoming a bigger problem as the years go on, not a lesser problem. So it is a huge deal for free speech beyond just video games and just these sort of like these pornographic games. So in part, MasterCard is... I disagree with this. They're being truthful. They're not being truthful. They're just using like semantics to say, oh, we didn't do it. It was just the guy that works for us that did it. Oops. Sorry. Our go-between is the one that did it. Ha ha ha. So that's just lying. Let's be real. So they didn't contact them directly. Instead, they contacted the internet merchant account and told them to make this problem go away. So it's like I didn't kill her. I hired someone to kill her. And the product service. So this, the branding stuff. So what happens all because of moralistic branding rules from banks and bankers to look like good guys while conducting sometimes scuzzy deals and force upon internet merchant accounts and force on online stores. And so much is being done online now in business that this is a huge deal. Like you cannot do business today and not have a credit card and not have a bank. Like, what are you going to do if you can't have that? It's just impossible. So the control that these companies have with these branding rules, I don't want to be associated with Nazis. I mean, come on. And then you just brand anyone you don't like a Nazi. And then, oops, there goes your bank account. Oh, you're critical about feminism? Oh, you can't do banking anymore. You can't collect online processing payments. It's so easy for them to shut down free speech. I mean, and at that point, the First Amendment doesn't mean anything. The Bill of Rights doesn't mean anything. When the free market and free business, businesses are allowed to associate with who they want. Apparently, they're the only ones that get freedom of association because they could just decide who they do business with and who they don't, and just destroy you at this point because they're literally the only two companies that allow online processing, payment processing. So you're just screwed. Yeah, it's really good that we have a First Amendment to protect us against that. This is Kiwi Farms just sort of saying, echoing a statement from Kotaku. Valve said, so this is Valve's response, that while MasterCard did not communicate with it directly, which sort of echoes what we saw before, concerns did come through payment processors and banking intermediaries. They said payment processors reject Valve's current guidelines for moderating illegal content, citing MasterCard Rule 5.12.7. MasterCard did not communicate with Valve directly, despite a request to do so. Valve's statement sent over by Kotaku read MasterCard has communicated with payment processor and they're acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve. We replied by outlining Steam policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this and cited MasterCard's rule and risk to the MasterCard brand. So this seems to be sort of confirming everything that was said before by these other statements. Rule 5.12.7 states a merchant must not submit to its acquirer and customer must not submit to the interchange system. Any transaction that is illegal or in the sole discretion of the corporation may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negativity on the marks. Which I guess means don't make us look bad. That was what essentially, in layman's term. It goes on the sale of a product or services, including any image which is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value, which is very subjective, such as, by way of example and not limitation, images of non-consensual sexual behavior, sexual exploitation of a minor, non-consensual mutilation of a person or body part and bestiality, or any other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in contact with a mark. Violations of 512 will result in fines, audits, companies being dropped by the payment processor. So, and some of these games definitely do have images of non-consensual sexual behavior, sexual exploitation. I mean, you could argue sexual exploitation of a minor, but they're not. None of this is actual real life stuff. So it's all like simulated. It's all fictional. I mean, look, if you didn't allow non-consensual behavior, I mean, how many of these like women's fantasy novels lean in very heavily into these sort of forced relationship category? I mean, Game of Thrones, I think, had a few scenes where it's doesn't seem super consensual, but hey, that's just a fantasy. That's just sometimes that people have some, they have to each their own type of thing. But it seems like video games are being targeted because it's a fairly easy thing to do, easy thing to hit. But who knows? MasterCard may be regretting maybe regretting it. And this is Chibi Reviews, just sort of bringing up the fact that they've been doing this with Patreon for a long time, and it makes it really hard because, especially if you're an independent content creator, when they could just pick and choose what they allow. Hey, OnlyFans, you're good, you're cool, but you know what? This Patreon, we're not going to allow it here, or we're not going to allow a certain creator because they've gotten too extreme, so we're going to shut that down. It's really weird. The fact that they could just do that to companies, I mean, they really just have too much power, I think, is what it comes down to. They're just too powerful, and they don't have any competition. So there's really no free market to be seen for this stuff, because if Visa or MasterCard drops you, you're just done in terms of doing any business online. What can you do? So it's a definite issue. It's far more to do than just, pornography. And itch.io has begun re-indexing free adult non-safe for work content as it seeks alternative payment processors. Good luck with alternative payment processors, by the way. I mean, some people are saying this is what Bitcoin was supposed to be, like a way to sort of get away from banks and payment processors for being able to do this. I don't know if it's really happened yet, but hopefully, in the future, maybe that is an alternative, is like stuff like crypto. Web3, guys, being able to do stuff like this and surpassing them. But I have a feeling it's going to be a fight, because I don't think these banks and credit card companies are going to release their sort of hold here without a fight. GOG is fighting back too. Thanks to the dedication of developers and publishers, we're launching freedom to buy games to raise awareness of censorship in gaming. 13 games are now available for free for 48 hours as part of this creative freedom. I think this already passed. It was August 1st. Visit freetobuy.games to learn more. You could still get them, guys. If you want these free games as of Sunday, you could still get them. These games don't really look very good. You'd have to pay me to play a lot of these games. It's like, whoa, Postal 2, whoop-de-doo. Ugly, some of this ugly rendered porn games, but whatever, it's helping. You could play Helping the Hotties, guys, for free. Why aren't you Sapphire Safari? I'm not even clicking on what this is. Fetish Locator, okay. Summer's Gone. Treasure of Nadia. Honey Pop is a fairly popular game. It's like 20 years. I feel like it's almost like 15 years old at this point. Some free games that to protest, raise awareness. Good for them. I'm glad they're trying to stand up for people. The link broke for me. Postal 2 and Honey Pop looks good. Good for them. I don't know, what you could really do at this point unless there's an alternative to these payment processors. It seems like the only real solution, but maybe, Gamergate, it did a lot more than I think anyone would think is possible. And I think in a way this is far bigger than, I'm clipping a little bit, far bigger than Gamergate when it comes to these processing and this censorship. But maybe the gamers can do it. Maybe they can raise enough awareness that politicians start putting on social pressure, start putting on some pressure that says, hey, you got to do something about it, because this is far more. Especially with Republicans in Congress, they've known enough. They've seen this enough with the debanking that happened, during COVID, during even the Tea Party movement. There was stuff like this. You just can't do business, and it's so easy for a lot of these left-wing controlled media companies to smear people as evil, and then MasterCard just whoa, look, New York Times or the Washington Post put out this article about you, calling you a racist pile of shit. So now doing business with you would be against our branding rules. We can't do it. We got this rule right here that says if it makes us look bad, to do business with you, then we can't do business with you. So see you later. Your business is done. You can't collect any money at all because, like I said, like 90% of people use us, Visa or MasterCard is their payment processor. Sorry. Good First Amendment you got there, guy, but he's see you later. And that's just it. So it's definitely bigger than games. And we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully something can be done. This was... let me take a drink first. They have too much power. Absolutely. It's money and power. The link broke for me, Postal 2 and Honey Pop. I've never played... I haven't played either of the games. Honey Pop has been around for a long time. I think it's fairly popular. Gamergate was 20 years ago. That's pretty nuts. But yeah, the start of something, a big shift, for sure. I don't know if this will be another big shift, but I think more and more people are becoming aware of just how powerful these banks are, and that something really needs to be done to stop them, or at least an alternative needs to come up, because it's outrageous. But let's talk about this. This was a big controversy that came up during the week, and unfortunately, this person has protected their account, so you can't see any of their posts. They're privated since then, but it was one of the new cards for Pokemon TCG as found to be traced from a fan art, and this was the account owner of the fan art that was traced from. Maybe at the advice of their lawyers, they protected their stuff, because there's been a backlash against another artist, and Nintendo's kind of having to kind of control it, or ask for people to not do it. So there's been some theories sort of going around of how this happened. Here's what I think happened. This is Liana Yu post a fan art Ho-Oh, then a bootleg figure got made by PC House, and then the C Nanahara, who's the one that's being accused of copying, made the card art and used the figure as reference. Unknown to her, it was a bootleg based on fan art. It's kind of a bizarre theory, but here's, as stuff came out, more news sort of came out, and now we're seeing the bigger picture of what happened. So this is from IGN, Tom Phillips. The Pokemon Company has dramatically pulled the designs of a new Pokemon TCG Project trading card amid a firestorm of controversy over its apparent origins. Fans have said the card Ho-Oh EX from the game's Wisdom of Sea and Sky expansion was based on plagiarized fan art, and in a statement issued today, the Pokemon Company essentially admitted as much. So they've already come out and said, yeah, we messed up. Now the card's artwork alongside of its sister Lugia EX card, which features the Ho-Oh design, has been pulled from the game merely hours before Wisdom of Sea and Sky global launch. Addressing the situation, the Pokemon Company said it deeply apologized for any inconvenience and is now conducting a review of all of their cards to ensure no other designs were at fault. To the community, we thank you for your continued support and passion of the Pokemon card game Pocket. The company wrote, we want to share an important update regarding the upcoming expansion of Wisdom and Sea and Sky. It has come to our attention that there is a production issue with the illustration of Ho-Oh featured in the immersive card artwork of Ho-Oh EX and Lugia EX. After internal review, we've discovered the card production team provide incorrect materials. So this is where they try to say, it wasn't the artist's fault. We provided incorrect materials as official documents to the illustrator commissioned to create these cards. As a result, both cards have been replaced with a temporary placeholder that the team is actively working to replace with new artwork as soon as it's ready. We are also conducting a broader investigation to ensure no similar issue exists elsewhere in the game. Currently obtaining the card art shows an empty card design, and this is crazy. So this game has been making millions upon millions of dollars, and this is what you get as one of the rarest cards you can draw from the set. This is what a live production game, multi-million, maybe $billion game thing is now, artwork is in their game right now. Coming soon, black screen. And that's it. New art coming. This looks so awful. And this is what they had to do because this is how big of a screw up it is. It's just something like this showing up. You pull your 3-star card. Like, I mean, how many random people that don't follow any of this? They don't follow it at all. They just they're just playing on their phone for fun. They open this and like, what the hell is this? If you have no idea what's going on, I'm sure for like really like hardcore fans, this is actually probably pretty interesting. It's kind of like, whoa, it's rare. You'll never probably see something like this again in your life as far as a card. The new art coming soon. If this is like a real life thing, this would be like a super collectible. But new art coming soon, just blank screen. Yesterday's controversy, which came after the Wisdom CSR design were data mined and examined, sparked a wider discussion over the Pokemon's legal terms for fan art, which appears to suggest that the company could, if they wanted to, do whatever they like with fan-made designs. But yeah, I mean, look, it's true. So on the right, this is the fan art. On the left, this is what was in the game. And if you like superimpose them on each other, it is like the exact same. This is so similar, it's ridiculous. So it's basically copy and pasted into the game. I don't know what they paid the artist to do. Maybe it's the coloring and the sort of like background design. Let's see. So I don't know if I have any. I think in some other things there's examples of the other artist's artwork. And it is interesting to say, like, okay, so this guy claiming, hey, they stole my artwork of the Pokemon that the Nintendo company owns. So there is a question at what point, like if you're just going to use other people's IP to make art, doesn't Nintendo kind of own that art anyway? It's like, hey, how dare you copy me copying your design? I don't know how the legality works of that too, since Nintendo owns Ho-Oh, but I assume at some point you're allowed to like make fan art of it. And I don't think they're really going to. I assume Nintendo is just going to say like, "Hey, we're going to change the design. We're not going to sort of get into the sort of the muck of fighting, someone that made a fan art of us." But who knows? Who knows what Nintendo will do behind the scenes? I don't know why this guy sort of private his account. Maybe that's a lawyer thing. Maybe they don't want to cause any sort of more hate to go to this other artist who seemingly maybe Nintendo gave this as a reference and like, hey, use this and provide some other details of it. I don't know if does this have the interactive? Oop, my thing is getting a little bit. Let's see. They have it. A little bit. I guess I don't really have the interactive artwork, do they? Oh well. As I don't think I've ever seen the original version of it. But this is pretty crazy that this fell through the cracks. So some of the Nintendo team. Let's see. Speaking of IGN, the video game industry's legal expert Richard Hiogue, host of the Virtual Legality podcast, said the Pokemon Company's legal terms on fan art act as acknowledgement that fans will create their own Pokemon art, but that ultimately, from a legal standpoint, any publicly shared design falls under the ownership of the Pokemon Company. So I guess they kind of do own it. It effectively says, look, we Nintendo are legally still the only ones allowed to make derivative works, fan art included, but we all know you're going to do it. So if you do it, on the off chance it's special and we can use it without otherwise paying you, since it was ours to begin with. Which, wow, that's great Nintendo. That does sound like a Nintendo thing to do. Today's statement, however, suggests Pokemon TCG will not be featuring any more fan art anytime soon. So I think they want to avoid it because it does make them look really bad, and it doesn't make sort of any sort of goodwill with the community when we're just like, hey, we're gonna just copy one for one your fan art and then use it to make crap loads of money. It just doesn't sit well with most people and most fans. Like, hey, why not just give this guy, this Anya Juiz, some money for using his stuff? Like, pay him. There's a lot of like artists and artist types in the Pokemon community for sure. This is Pokemon Beach's article. I think this is only interesting because they have the overlay of each other. It's exactly the same as this comparison, but this also shows the artwork that this artist has done before. The artist is sort of accused of copying the art, and you can see there's some really good stuff. It looks great. This is Zorak, Greninja, really cool style. It has like Japanese, like heavy ink type of style to it. Ninetales here, illustration. So they've done really good stuff. It's not the fact that the artist doesn't have talent, but the question is, like, even if they gave this as reference, like, why did they just one for one copy it? And it really does sort of like throw some aspersions onto this person that did they copy other stuff too? But I don't know how this works. I don't want to. So in the statement here, this cautioned, I don't want to steer any narrative public opinion. This matter is still inconclusive. In fact, I'm just puzzled. Pokemon TCG is commissioned by creatures, and RS drafts are reviewed by creatures to make sure the models are on point. So I don't know. Like, do they just provide you a reference and say, "Hey, use this," and then make it? So it is weird. Even them saying like, "Hey, don't harass the artist. It's not their fault." It's hard to look at this and say like why did they just like it? There's no way you can't say this isn't a straight up copy, like a one for one copy. Like, why did they do that? If they're already a talented artist that makes some really good work, did they just decide to like, hey, use this reference material? Or maybe in a way, did they just say, hey, use this reference, add some stuff in the background, and it'll be good to go? Because, I mean, this is a live service product. So there is a big, a lot of time constraints on it. As you can see by the fact that they had to use a placeholder, they can't go back. Once the train leaves the station, it cannot go back. It has to keep going. Just a wild situation there from, like I said, a company and a product that's making millions upon millions of dollars. So some other Nintendo news. Nintendo sold 6 million Switches and over 5.6 million copies of Mario Kart World. So Switch 2 continues to be doing amazingly well. And it's only going to get better. So it confirmed that Mario Kart Prime, or Metroid Prime 4, and Kirby Air Riders are still scheduled to be released in 2025. And I think in a lot of ways, I think Metroid's almost basically done. I think they're just trying to stagger stuff out. That way you're still getting like hit for hit. It's first it's Mario Kart, then it's Donkey Kong. I don't know where, Metroid Prime 4 and Air Riders fits in on the thing. You got Pokemon coming out. So in its inaugural year, the Switch 2 is bringing out some heavy hitters in its first party stuff, which is, of course, the main draw of the Nintendo Switch 2 is these first-party games. So it looks like going to be a pretty good year for Nintendo fans. This is our other plagiarism thing. Let's take a look. So Sony is suing Tencent over its Horizon lookalike. Let's take a look at some of these trailers here. Let's sort of bring this in. Let's see. And let's take a look at... I'll let you judge for yourself. what these look like.
Wake up.
Now this is Light of Motaram.
I call you forth, the fourth breath I grant you, to live in this world which spirals against time.
Look at the sort of mechanical animal designs, because I think this is where it really shows up the similarities. Also, the just sort of general, like, tribal human, primitive human, post-apocalypse, I assume. That looks like Power World. Maybe we skip forward to some of this combat here. These mechanical beasts. I got a seal here. A weird sort of sand creature. Let me show you this there. In the desert here. Look at these general designs of these, like, sort of sand, like robotic animals. Yeah, a lot of games are looks like a bunch of games put together nowadays, to be honest. It is kind of like Monster Hunter, MMO. But we're making an RPG, so we got some Genshin Impact elements in here. Oh, you can build stuff. Whoa! I mean, this is China, Chinese game companies to a T. Hey, let's take a bunch of, like, Power World, essentially. Though I think Power World's a Japanese company. Let's just take a bunch of popular stuff, throw it together, and make a popular game. But this is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes, but it's safe.
And you
there,
can
girl.
See,
You'll be lost.
Again, it's like primitive, humid, kind of like Indian type of stuff.
To trust. You'll be chasing a riddle.
This is the sort of thing that came first.
Of mysteries. The world of the old ones.
Old ones. Oh,
what secrets?
Let's see. And then here you have mechanical beasts. Like, all the animals are robots, essentially.
These questions, Aloy, the tribe has forbidden. What if the answers are worse than not knowing?
Whoa.
Careful what you bring to light. Even if you do catch what you're after, how do you know it won't bite back?
Outcast! You came from nothing. You will die a nothing.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you can see there's definitely similarities to the creatures that are in this game. I mean, the general feel, like, oh, post-apocalyptic, we're kind of Indian, Native American type of look, and every animal is a robot. It's pretty easy to start, like, even like look at the outfits compared to the two. They're fairly similar. I mean, obviously, yeah, the girls in this is hotter, but I think you can choose. I assume this is a game where you can choose to be male or female, but this is Chinese and not Western, so the women actually look attractive. Now you look at these sort of mechanical creatures, and it's hard not to see a strong similarity in the designs of each. So Sony is suing Tencent over Horizon lookalike Sony Interactive, and we looked at Light of Mortaria like months ago, so I guess they're just finally getting around to doing it. Is filed lawsuit against Tencent over its upcoming game Light of Motoram, with Sony saying it's a slavish clone of the Horizon series. The suit, which was filed on July 25th in California and was seen by GameSpot, sees Sony going after Tencent for copyright and trademark infringement, Sony demanding a trial by jury. Sony saying it is trying to prevent the release of Light of Motoram. Tencent's copying of Horizon is so blatant, the public has described it as crazy, insane, and shameless. Sony says in the lawsuit. SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment, further alleged that Tencent came to the company to pitch with a pitch to license the Horizon IP, to which Sony declined. Sony said Tencent is deliberately causing numerous game lovers to confuse Light of Motoram as the next game in the Horizon series by way of Tencent promoting it with a ripoff of Horizon's Alloy character. See, now this part I think is they might have a hard time proving, because the Tencent character is obviously cuter than much cuter than Alloy ever is. I mean, you have like this, like cute girl sleeping. Wake up. She looks kind of cute. Alloy, on the other hand, not so much. Let's see if we can get a screenshot of Alloy here. Alloy has the man jaw face. Yeah, she's. I don't know if the copy thing, they can pull that off. I mean, the other stuff I agree is copying, but I don't think rip-off improvement is the word I would use. Vast improvement over Alloy might be the word I would use, but never mind that. Tencent contact has caused and is causing a repairable injury to Sony. The company says Sony is seeking statutory damages of $150,000 for each separate work in the Horizon franchise infringed, as well as for Tencent to deliver SIE's lawyers all production and marketing materials bearing which it claims as prohibited marks, so Sony team can destroy them. Light of Mortaria remains available to wishlist on Steam, but it has a release date. The game is development at Polaris Quest, which is a subsidiary of Tencent. I mean, it looks like the game itself definitely looks incredibly similar. I would argue that it does look like a ripoff of Horizon Zero Dawn. I've never played Horizon Zero Dawn. Can't say which one looks better as far as the game goes. I mean, Alloy is ugly as shit. So I don't have any particular love for Horizon Zero Dawn or that franchise, but yeah, it's hard not to argue that they're copying here. But at what point, just how much are you allowed to copy creatively? Remains to be seen. I mean, some people are saying like Genshin Impact was a huge copy of whatever the term is, a huge copy of not Wind Waker, but Breath of the Wild. It looks so similar in style, and the way you could climb mountains and stuff, but it was still able to release, and it made so much money, astronomical amounts of money. I don't know if this game itself, though. I mean, you look at the official account. I think this is the official YouTube account, and it has 1.7K subscribers. That's pretty bad. I guess this almost has 1 million views at least, but it's not like this. I don't know if this franchise is really like setting the world on fire as far as buzz. So we'll see. Maybe they'll just decide like, hey, this isn't worth it to like go through a lawsuit for this game that may not make that much money. We'll see how it ends up. But Sony finally taking a stand. When I first saw this trailer, I was definitely like, yeah, this is pretty similar. This is pretty similar. I'm not. I should play. Yeah, and Genshin can be fun. I've got too much other things to play at the moment. I thought this was interesting, but a little tidbit here. Some little like smaller stories. This is actually going to be Hideki Kamiya's first sequel, which is kind of crazy to think because they made games like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta. The first time he's actually directed the sequel to one of his own games. So like afterwards, it's crazy because Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, they all have a bunch of sequels. He's never been directly sort of like directing those sequels before. So Okami is the first one he's doing it, which is, again, crazy to think because I thought he was involved in Beautiful Joe as well, but maybe not. So it's a big challenge, and it will be big and exciting challenges for him to balance those two things. Pretty cool. This was kind of interesting almost refreshing to hear. Battlefield will avoid goofy crossover skins, keep its visuals grounded. Battlefield 6. The game aims to follow through with the tone of Battlefield 3 and 4. It's a wild ride these days to look at screenshots from Call of Duty. Guys wearing ridiculous costumes are shooting Beavis and Butthead, and oh look, there's gorillas. Lionel Messi. That's something EA and DICE want to avoid with Battlefield 6. Its design director, Shahank Ushil, told whatever this Double Tap at the Battlefield multiplayer reveal event in London. It has to be grounded. That is what Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 was. It was all soldiers on the ground. It's going to be like Ushil said, pointing at key art featuring soldiers in soldier gear looking over war-torn New York City. He added, I don't think it needs Nicki Minaj, which I like that quote. I don't think it needs Nicki Minaj. Let's keep it real. Keep it grounded. Battlefield 3 and 4, some of the most popular games of the franchise, are the main guiding lights for the upcoming iteration. In other ways as well, for example, ability to steal other players' dog tags during a melee kill will return. However, Battlefield 6 makes substantial changes to the fundamental systems. Every class will be able to access weapons of the game instead of being restricted. And this is more details talking about that sort of openness, which I'm not that interested in. But it is kind of refreshing to see that some companies are deciding like, hey, let's not go with this crossover bullshit. Let's try to make a realistic looking war game. Though I doubt, since EA is involved, it's be that realistic. It's probably going to have like a bunch of black women as you can play a black girl on the battlefield. It's totally real, guys. But at least, at the very least, Nicki Minaj and King of the Hill aren't going to be in the game. I think that'll be a win for a creative direction in Western games overall. I didn't know Leona Messier's a skin some of the stuff. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I really shouldn't. This is also an interesting thing. So I guess EVO prohibits money matches, and you will be banned if you participate in them. Is anyone else offended by this? I literally helped set up MMs to be played on the big screen for years to have the crowd entertained. Really surprising by this new/newest ruling. And some people are saying it's not new. It's been around for a while. Sort of EVO, as EVOs become more and more of a big production, they sort of have to follow, I guess there might be some laws pertaining to not being able to do this. I could see it happening. But, you know, it's just another example of like, as these sort of like community things become more corporate, it really goes against the sort of spirit of the community and what it used to be. Money matches in the fighting game community have always been like a way to make money, sort of like interact, you know, create rivalries. But it's, you know, sort of like the sort of darker, seedier part of the EVO community. And it's more of the more masculine part of the EVO community, where it's like people putting up cash and fighting each other. Usually it's like only a few bucks, but it can also be bigger. You know, it's sort of like the sort of trash talking and that kind of stuff that sort of like, again, that guys like, that sort of get pushed to the side as we need to make it more presentable and more toned down, you know, more, what's the word I'm looking for? Banal, sterilized, that kind of thing. So sad to see this happening. This was another what I couldn't believe. I'm not going to go into this thing, but Silent Hill has been compared to these. This entire sentence is horrifying. Silent Hill F, which I've never played a Silent Hill game, so I'm not tore up about this, whatever this game's going to be, but it's just the general feel of video games today. Silent Hill F has been compared to the Souls-like subgenre because of certain mechanics and a nightmarish boss fight that took a full hour to beat. A full hour. I don't know, when they say full hour, do they mean he had to retry it over and over again for a full hour, or the boss fight itself took a full hour? Because if it's a 1 hour boss fight, I am not interested in fighting a boss for an entire hour. It's got Souls-like mechanics. Whoa. It's so Souls-like. I don't... First of all, I'm just sick of hearing Souls-like. Second of all, like, an hour to beat. Man. Things are not this type of stuff is just what I avoid in video games right now. Unfortunately, a lot of like mainstream games seem to be going in this direction. Finally, let's finish it up. I don't have a game of the week because I haven't been playing games at all. It's funny, I screwed up my sort of like shoulder neck Monday morning, and like for like Monday and Tuesday, like Monday I could barely move at all. Like I could barely get out of my chair. It hurt so badly. Then like it's sort of like I was able to recover, but the funny thing is like when I'm hurt and I'm not feeling super well, I don't want to play video games. You'd think it would be like a great distraction from feeling bad, but I don't know. Like I don't want to associate some games. Like I remember playing like Monster Hunter Wilds, and you know that sort of like opening like song where she's singing. I remember playing that when I had like a terrible fever, and every time like I hear that song now, I'm reminded of that time I had a fever. It's very weird. Yeah, read a third person over the shoulder. Exactly. That is like every freaking game now. Like anytime I hear people mention like how good the cameras are now, I always think of this shit because like everything's this. Like that's how everything's presented now, and it sucks because there's just you just almost have to do that to get sort of like clearance, or people to like it. Mainstream acceptance is what you have to sort of fight against to get anything new in the world here. Last thing, Eartheon. This looks really good. This is like a shoot 'em up. I think you can actually play it on Sega Genesis Mega Drive. Developed for this, and it's early 2026. I think it's available now. Maybe. I don't know. I saw like one of the reviewers were playing it. With classes like Radius, Thunder Fort were inevitable. Good news that Eartheon largely holds its own. Yeah, the graphics look really great. The only thing I've seen from just looking at it is because like the 16-bit graphics and like how they present it, the sort of like ability to see bullets, like some of the visuals look a little bit busy, so it might be hard to see like some of the bullets and the shots. And it is like kind of like an old style Genesis game, but it's getting really good reviews, and I'm definitely gonna have to check it out, buy it and play it at some point. But I still got to beat Donkey Kong. I haven't played a single bit of Donkey Kong since this week, so that's got to be taken care of. I got to finish DK Bonanza, get that beat. There's a ton of games I need to play, but that's it for the video, guys. That's it for the podcast. Thank you for joining me. Really appreciate it. Let me see if I can redirect to Post Zero. I assume it's gonna be on somebody's channel. Let's see. Is it? Let me see if I can find it. Where is Post Zero? Or maybe I missed some of the chat where they said they're taking a week off, because I don't see it. I don't see it mentioned. Let me see if I can catch up. So I think they're gonna take a week off. I know Jack, who usually hosts, it's pretty busy with his book. He's got a new book coming out. It's called On Women. So I might as well just promote his book, at least on that. Look for that on Amazon or on his account. That's pretty cool that he's coming out with a book. Hopefully it does really well. I definitely like to see Jack succeed in his endeavors. Oh, man. I saw this. Should I even bring it up? It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because it's a mention. Jack didn't know that it was Control-Alt-Delete was based on a real-life event. Yep. Good old Buckley. This is classic internet history here. The Lost comic meme. So I guess Ryan, my buddy Ryan here was saying, people get mad at me for mocking Matt Walsh and other parents who show off their F trophies for clout. But when my Fallout gaming channel starts using shit like this for content, can you blame me? My wife got a miscarriage. Great, bro. Why was you taught to monetize it? Our experience losing it. This is a Fallout gaming channel? Losing a pregnancy. Like, man. People could always like bring up, the what's the term? Parasocial relationship, but a lot of times content creators are just as bad. Like, I would never share, like, when my brother passed away, I maybe like mentioned it in passing, but I never made a video about it because, it's something very personal. It's very, it's obviously tragic, and it's just not something I'm going to share with the internet. But then of course, he didn't learn the lesson that people don't usually give a shit about this kind of stuff. Like, people don't like to hear about it. First of all, it's terrible, and you're just gonna bum them out. They watch a gaming channel to like escape real life. Then all of a sudden, like, they're bringing it up, and I'm sure like some people are genuinely care about it or like have a connection with the guy. They feel like, oh no, that's terrible. But overall, the internet doesn't want to hear it. And of course, Tim Buckley famously sharing a comic about his wife having a miscarriage, becoming the famous Loss comic, which has been a test for pattern recognition on the internet for who knows, 20 years at this point, 15, 20 years at this point. Yeah, that was funny. I just share. I don't know why I'm sharing. This is bonus content. Bonus content as we look over famous nerd culture memes. But that's it. There's no post here today, so this is going to be the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye. Ending it on loss. Wow.